What is poppin'? It is the Slapton. I am but a lowly Slapton riding these DeFi waves, and welcome to Today in Crypto, where I give you all of the crypto news that is fit to go ape wild over. Now remember, I am but a lowly Slapton, which means I cannot give you financial advice. So do not construe this as such. However, I do hope to educate and perhaps entertain. So with that said, let it begin. In terms of market conditions, well, things could be better. Bitcoin is targeting an 8th weekly red candle. I believe it actually achieved that as of today. This is a 2 months essentially of Bitcoin ending up every week lower than the last previous week. You don't need me probably to tell you this if you've been keeping up with crypto. It's been rough. It's been rough in all markets though. In TradFi markets, the S&P 500 is down. Everything is down. And, you know, I do believe that crypto is going to follow the markets. I don't believe that it's going to basically decorrelate or not have a correlation. I think it's going to stay roughly correlated to the macro markets. So whatever the macro markets do is what Bitcoin's going to do. It is not at a place yet. It is not big enough. It is not matured yet. It has not been adopted enough yet that it can forge its own path. However, there's two ways to look at this. One, if you need the money now, yeah, it sucks. If you don't need the money now, things are on discount. Buy that dip. And we'll get into that at the end of this video. I have a nice little article which explains the or analyzes dollar cost averaging versus lump sum investing. Of course, if you want to skip to that, everything will have a timestamp. You can skip around this video. Also, if you find this information or this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. That'd be a big help to me. So anyway, that's the markets that we're in. Although today, I believe there's a bit of a recovery. Bitcoin is approaching over 30K, which is a level of resistance support. So that looks to be good. Now, along these lines of global economic recessions, we have the International Monetary Fund saying global economies face a confluence of calamities. Well, that's very alliterative. That's very poetic. A confluence of calamities. It sounds great, but the reality is this means we have problems. And the problems are the war in Ukraine, COVID-19, and reckless spending, reckless printing of money over the last several years by the central banks, which is now coming to roost because you can't just print money forever and see inflation go sky high. Eventually, you're going to have to pull the plug on this money supply, and that is exactly what we're seeing with the Fed hikes, and we're seeing problems. Now, what I think was very interesting about this article is one of the challenges being faced by countries was the cost of international money remunerations or payments over cross borders. Now, if only there was a solution, maybe something like Bitcoin, crypto in general. I mean, I hate to say this, but even Ripple. Might these be solutions to these sorts of problems? Again, this is the thing that drives me kind of nuts about this is you have the International Monetary Fund saying we have a problem. The problem is right now there's all of these banks, these central currencies that can't really talk to each other in a streamlined, efficient way, and there's a lot of cost of transferring that money through centralized middlemen, essentially. And that is exactly what crypto is set out to accomplish. And it turns out that the International Monetary Fund doesn't want to support it because it threatens the central banks. So here's the numbers. 6.3% average cost of an international remittance payment means around 45 billion annually is diverted towards intermediaries. I mean, we can cut this out today with cryptocurrencies. I think, you know, it's just a matter of time. It doesn't matter what the IMF says about cryptocurrencies. It doesn't matter what the central banks say. If there is a solution that's going to offer countries, particularly countries that are not in a position to blow a lot of money like El Salvador, developing nations, they're going to absolutely adopt these better solutions. Hey, let's get to the World Economic Forum. For those who don't know, the World Economic Forum is an annual forum that brings together essentially rich and powerful people, celebrities, politicians, business leaders, investors, etc. And they're meeting in Davos, Switzerland. And they talk about problems and solutions, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things that came up was the Sheila Warren, Crypto Council for Innovation. She's the CEO. She shared her insights with Cointelegraph at the World Economic Forum. And she basically says that even during this downturn, even during this period of economic hardship, even in the wake of the Terra catastrophe, that meltdown, she thinks that she's seeing that serious people are staying in crypto because they see the utility, the value in cryptocurrencies long-term. People who are long-term minded, and I implore you to be long-term minded when you're making investments. Short-term minded, it can be fun, it can be exciting. At the end of the day, it's gambling to me. If you think of this long-term, if you think of the utility long-term, get into fundamental, foundational investments, and you will do fine. You will do just fine over time. And we'll get into that at the very end. I keep teasing that. So this is an educated opinion by CEO Sheila Warren, saying that serious people that she's paying attention to are staying in the space. They are not running and hiding. It's actually retail that's running and hiding, believe it or not. This is another interesting story. Ripple CEO reveals he visited the SEC several times before a lawsuit struck. So if you've been living under a rock or unfamiliar, Ripple is under litigation. They're being sued essentially by the SEC because they're being targeted as an unregulated security. And Ripple tried to play with the SEC. They tried to play nice with the SEC, visiting their offices, trying to open a line of communication, trying to be regulatorily compliant. And what they got in return for their efforts was a nice fat lawsuit that has essentially mired them in a legal quagmire. You cannot purchase, you cannot trade Ripple XRP in the United States currently. So Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO. He relayed this. He basically is saying that the United States is so far behind in regulation compared to the G20 nations, such as Japan, that this essentially creates a problem for crypto entities because they want to be regulatorily compliant. They don't want to be operating in this morass. They don't want to be operating with this uncertainty of regulation. They want to know their limits, their parameters, and they're encouraging lawmakers to put forth the framework as long as the framework is common sense and not overly burdensome or onerous. So this is what's going on at the World Economic Forum. We have these, these influential people speaking during the panels, describing the issues of crypto. So this is bullish to me because it is getting in front of the right people. I do think the pressure is there, and I think it's a matter of time. Another WEF 2022 story. So Crypto Crowd, I love this. Crypto Crowd dominates Davos Main Street despite price crash. So, there is an official panel. You have to get an invite to be involved in that. Now, outside of this big event on Main Street, there's a bunch of crypto entities setting up booths, kiosks, etc., and they are dominating the Main Street, which just shows, one, that there is an enormous growth of this space, and it is the most emerging, most interesting economic space that I can think of is the crypto space, and they are clamoring now. The people in crypto, it's a long cry from basically we're going to be these like cypherpunks living in obscurity and anonymity. They are actively going towards these regulatory bodies saying we are ready to comply. We are ready to be involved in the process of regulation. We are ready to be adopted, essentially. So as long as we keep seeing this, this speaks to exactly the last article, which is that these crypto companies want the regulation. They want to be involved in the process because this regulation will actually create certainty and will lead to mass adoption. We have only just begun with crypto adoption, and I got a story about that at the end as well. This is from PayPal. Speaking of adoption, PayPal looks to embrace all possible crypto and blockchain services. So currently, PayPal accepts Bitcoin, but it wants to expand its services to its users to be able to buy, sell, and custody many different kinds of cryptocurrencies and CBCDs, central bank CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which just shows that even these TradFi companies understand the value of crypto and they are moving towards it. The CEO of PayPal himself says that he holds crypto. He didn't say this, but he said in a cryptic way that, of course, he is going to expose himself to the services he's offering to his customers. So it's just a matter of time. I keep saying it's just a matter of time. So that's the WEF news for the day. We can't have today in crypto without talking about stablecoins because they're all the rage. They're, after Terra, after the slight depegging of Tether, this is one of the most attention grabbing things in crypto right now is the stability of stablecoins. So USDC, which has really emerged as the clear winner of this stablecoin uncertainty because it is deemed as the most stable. The co-founder and CEO of Circle, Jeremy Allaire said that they hope to release to the public weekly attestations, weekly reserve numbers showing what is being held in USDC. Allaire claims that all USDC is backed by fiat or short-term bonds, which are highly liquid, very conservative, and considered safe. So we will see about that. But I think that is a wonderful thing. I think, again, that is exactly the sort of thing that we need in this space is transparency. We need to have these companies being responsible. And this will do two things. It will show these regulators and lawmakers that most people in crypto, most entities are operating in good faith, that there is a way to do this that will engender confidence in the market and investors. And the fact that they're taking this initiative, I think, is wonderful. I'm a big proponent of USDC, not financial advice. I hold all of my stables in USDC. Almost all of them. I've had the most confidence in them by far. All right, so let's get into the metaverse. You guys know my opinion on the metaverse. I think the metaverse is a meme. The thing that I wanted to compare it to last episode was the Segway scooter, in which the creator of the Segway scooter, met his untimely demise by hurtling off a cliff while demonstrating his product to a bunch of fanatics or supporters, enthusiasts. I think the Segway is an example of a lot of hype, a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, the product wasn't ready, and the product really wasn't solving any problem that in any meaningful way. So, what is the problem right now that the metaverse is trying to solve? Are they suggesting that meeting in person is too inconvenient? Are they suggesting that meeting face-to-face has a significant amount of problems that can be adequately addressed with technology? Well, I would argue that we already have a very good solution to meeting if we aren't able to meet in person. It's what you and I are doing right now. It's called, and pardon me for swearing, the fucking internet. Okay, so right now we are in the metaverse as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Napalm because he's somebody who has been talking about this for a minute, is how are we not in the metaverse when we're communicating over the internet? And here's the best part, is I don't have to put doofy headset on. I don't have to have a big, cumbersome, uncomfortable thing hanging off of my head. I don't look like a doof. Well, I always look like a doof, but more of a doof by having, by being clueless about my surroundings. Oh, check this out. I can be addressing you and I can be aware of my surroundings, which is good for survival and just generally good to be aware of where you are. I think we are so far away from living in a virtual reality that it will probably not be meaningful in any short term, maybe even in my life, right? That's not going to stop Sony. That's not going to stop Sony and these big companies from announcing that they're getting into the metaverse, because I don't think they want to be left out. I really don't think they understand at all what this stuff is. I think they're being told metaverse, metaverse, metaverse. And sometimes I wonder if this just isn't a ploy to get attention. So here's your attention, Sony. Sony has a lot of catching up to do, and they're going to take the metaverse seriously to try to catch up with Meta, who has led the push, and other metaverse players. And the idea is that they're going to present this line of headsets to sell to young kids who in 10 years will realize that they looked really dumb wearing them and they'll be embarrassed about it. So that's really all I want to say about the metaverse. If you guys are into the metaverse, I apologize. I have no faith in it. Hey, but there's one application that I do think makes sense, and that's in training, specifically for like the defense tech. So defense tech companies can boost the power of the military troops through the metaverse. I do believe in this because you're going to put troops through, let's say training. Let's say, you have a soldier, you need to train them in close quarters combat. Now, this isn't something that you can do at full speed with live ammunition for obvious reasons. It isn't something that you can recover from if you get shot multiple times in close combat situations, at least not without significant cost. And there's dangers there, obviously. So I do think that something like the metaverse, what we're really just talking about here is simulators, training simulators. If you want to think of the metaverse or the potential of the metaverse as advanced training simulations, I'm all for it. I mean, we have flight simulations, which are to some degree encapsulated metaverses, right? You sit in a chair, you look at a screen, you feel like you're encapsulated in this virtual reality. Like, I'm fine with that. If you want to sell me that the metaverse will be used for that, or even training, let's say, high-risk jobs like the people who maintain high-tension power lines, yeah, all for it. So actually, I think if you're going to invest in the metaverse, this, in my opinion, makes the most sense. I think this has the long-term viability, and I think it has a solution to a very real problem, which is how do you train people for difficult jobs, or I should say not difficult jobs, but high risk jobs in a safe and safe way that's authentic to the actual experience. Yeah, the metaverse makes sense. Strap some goggles on, some stupid goggles onto soldiers so they can, they can have that experience without exposing themselves to the downside risk of personal bodily harm. All for it. GameStop, the old GameStop, they keep innovating. Good on them. GameStop unveils crypto and NFT wallets, and their share jumps 3%. NFTs, again, I kind of feel the same way about NFTs as I feel about Metaverse, although I'm much more bullish on NFTs in the concept of NFTs. I think NFTs are going to revolutionize many different fields, including healthcare. Healthcare records will move to them. I think real estate will move to NFTs. I think a lot of things will. I think tickets for sporting events and concerts will move to NFTs, although I do think the JPEG thing is stupid. I don't think we will care very much about JPEG NFTs going into the future, except for the blue chips, and that's even debatable. Anyway, one use I think for NFTs that's going to explode is in video games, because people love, they're doing it right now. People love to play and earn collectibles. They love to play and earn skins. They love to play and earn all sorts of little badges and rewards. As somebody who used to game quite a bit myself, I know the allure of this. I don't think it's very hard to sell these gamers on the idea that they can play to earn and win things that are under their ownership. It's unique and they can possess it in a wallet. So this makes all the sense in the world to me that GameStop would unveil crypto and NFT wallets. It is a self-custody wallet. I believe it's a beta version of a self-custodial Ethereum wallet. And it will allow the users to send and receive in-game assets without having to leave their web browsers. That's big. The easier it is, the better the user interface, the more it will be adopted. And to see this translate to growth, I think is really cool. So good on Coinbase, and I do think video gaming will push NFTs wildly, even beyond what we're seeing now in the play-to-earn crypto sphere. I'm talking just AAA studios eventually catching on and incorporating this sort of thing into their games. And at that point, it is game over, no pun intended. That thing will explode. Really cool survey came out, the Fed survey. 12% of U.S. adults hold crypto in 2021. So there's a couple things you can take from this. One, you're seeing, that's a significant portion, 1 in 10 people. If you're walking down the street and you see 10 adults, approximately one of them has held crypto. Now, to what extent is debatable. Maybe they got Doge. I know a lot of boomers who bought Doge because it was exploding and it was a meme coin and it was on Robinhood and their friend told them to do it. In a meaningful way, who knows? But I do know from this article that only 3% of people are using crypto as a means of exchange, as a currency, which says that you guys, if you're watching this and invested, are still insanely early. Insanely early. 12% of US adults hold, 3% are using as a currency. This doesn't speak to the global numbers, and I mean, there's just, the room for growth in this market is extreme. Don't lose sight of the long term. Speaking of the long term, I love this article, dollar cost averaging or lump sum investing. I'm a dollar cost averaging investor all the way. I'm a fundamental long-term investor. I do play with some what you'd call alt or shit coins from time to time, but this shows that dollar cost averaging, or it was reported, can beat lump sum investing 99.9% of the time on a long enough time frame. Now, there is some evidence to suggest that lump sum investing can gain some of the best returns if done well. So the ultimate solution posed in this article was to do both, to blend the two crypto strategies, or the investment strategies, to take 1/3 of your lump sum investment, put it in when you think the market is at its bottom, and then continue to dollar cost average the last 2/3 percentages over your set amount of time. I actually think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Why commit to one thing or the other when you can have the best of both worlds? Let me know what you think of dollar cost averaging. I am a firm believer that no one can time the market reliably. I do believe that you should have some humility when you invest. I do believe that dollar cost averaging is your recognition that you are not smarter than the market. You cannot outsmart the market, but you believe in the market long term, and because of that, you will be rewarded with patience and discipline. Patience and discipline. Patience and discipline. I'll say it again, you sons of guns. Patience and discipline. Let me know what you think, though. How wrong am I? Lockheed Martin, final story. I love this story. Filecoin Foundation to explore the hosting blockchain nodes in space. That's right, baby. We're going to get crypto in space. So next time someone asks you, what's the point of crypto anyway? What does blockchain do anyway? What you can explain to them is that in the future, there will be an initiative to allow satellites to communicate with each other and the Earth in a decentralized, permissionless way through blockchain technology that will greatly reduce latency and improve transparency. And if they're not convinced, then Tell him to go hang out with Boomer Bill. Of course, I'm talking about Bill Gates. And I don't know, man, talk about why crypto's so bad. But there you have it. That's today in crypto. A lovely day in crypto. Every day in crypto is a lovely day in crypto, wouldn't you say, old chaps? I will catch you on the next one, hopefully. Remember to ape responsibly, would you? Peace, dudes. And dudettes.